Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Look at your background. That's stunning. You have a Michael Jordan poster. You've got a Cardinals flag, I see.
Yeah, I uh we got this, I believe, from the team store.
So cool.
Yeah. Or one of my friends gave it to me. I don't remember.
Awesome. Well, you've got a great background. Mine's blurred because it's just my apartment that no one really cares about seeing. There's like a
Okay.
laundry rack back here, and so we're just gonna blur it out for
Okay.
today.
Okay. Okay. See. Um, oh, are you recording?
Uh-huh.
Oh. Uh, Hey everyone, welcome to the Diamond Streams Determination podcast. I'm here with Alexa Datt. Um, Alexa Datt is a sports journalist known for her MLB and hockey coverage. She graduated from the University of Maryland and began her career co-hosting the Morning Run on 120sports.com and serving as an stadium host for the New York Mets games. She joined the MLB Network in 2018 as a studio host and reporter, also hosting podcast podcast live with Alexa, and report for FanDuel Sports, covering the St. Louis Cardinals and the Blues. Her engaging style and deep sports knowledge have made her respected figure in broadcasting. Alexa, welcome.
Thank you, Izzy. I'm
Welcome.
so humbled. That was a wonderful intro. You
Yeah.
covered my entire career, which I've been in this business a long time, so I'm sorry you had to read all of that,
No,
but
it's fine.
but I really appreciate you introducing me. That was really nice.
Yeah, you're welcome. Um, so I have some questions for you.
Okay, let's get into them.
Um, if you were a baseball player, what position would you play?
Well, I'm left-handed, so sometimes lefties are only limited to certain positions because it's easier to throw around on the
Yeah.
diamond, right? So when
Yes.
I played softball, I was a first baseman because obviously that's a very popular position for left-handers. And then I played some outfield, some left field and right field. I did a little bit of pitching too. It was slow pitch. So that was a lot of fun, but I would say first base. I wish I was a little bit taller though. I do jump really well, but usually first basemen are a little bit taller to be able to have the reach to get some of those baseballs. So I would say first base. How about you?
I would think like um either shortstop or Mason Wynn. Or no, or third base.
Okay, so
Or-
shortstop or third base. That's pretty good. So you'd
Yeah,
either be like a Mason Wynn character or
yeah,
like a Nolan Arenado.
yeah.
Yeah.
Basically. Um, if you were what would your base walkout song be?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Right now, I'm listening to a lot of Olivia Dean. Man I Need is like one of my favorite songs right now. I love Dua Lipa. I'm a huge Taylor Swift. Anything like female empowerment, I don't know, Wildest Dreams, something really fun and cool and interesting that would get the crowd hyped, but like that's still contemporary that people are listening to on the radio now, like people like for their walk-up songs to like dig back into like the 80s and 90s, which I appreciate because those are some great genres, but I want somebody, to perform a song for me while I'm walking up that the whole crowd can get into, especially people like nowadays that are watching baseball, like what they're listening to today on the radio that they can also hear as my walk-up song. So I would say like, T Swift is so popular right now and I'm a Swiftie, so I would love something Taylor Swift.
My mom is also one too.
She's very popular for
Yeah.
good reason.
What is your connection to baseball?
What is my connection to baseball?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Maryland, and when I first got into the game of baseball, I was at Camden Yards with my dad, and I went to go see Cal Ripken Jr. play baseball. And my dad looked at me and he said, "This is one of the greatest baseball players to ever play the sport." And I was curious as to what he meant by that. Yes, he was an excellent baseball player, but what my dad really valued and what he values in life too is hard work. And the longevity that you saw from Cal Ripken, meaning he played every single game he possibly could. They called him a workhorse for a reason. He broke Lou Gehrig's record for consecutive games played. It was such a special moment for this game that we went to, specifically at Camden Yards, where he broke this streak. And it was the number 2131. So 2130 was the record that had been set. So when he hit game number 2131, the banner came down on this warehouse that was out in right field. And it was these huge numbers that came down. The place went crazy. And he was introduced essentially as, the Iron Man. And that was something that was really special to me, something that I really resonated with in terms of, being a hard worker and going out there and wanting to play every day. And also this energy that was in the ballpark, I kind of fell in love with it. So that's where I first really fell in love with the game of baseball. And I wanted to be a part of it kind of from then going forward for the rest of my life. So that was my main goal. So then from there, I ended up doing sports broadcasting in college and then working in the sport out of college in Maryland, New York, and now here in Missouri and St. Louis.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like,
Yeah.
so like for me, I didn't even watch baseball until winter warm up,
Okay.
and it was and because I didn't like I thought it would get like boring until winter warm up, and that's where I kind of started watching it like and actually paying attention to it because I wouldn't pay attention to it at all.
So did you end up meeting players first, and that's why you fell in love with
Yeah,
the sport?
yeah. It
So
was
who did you meet that you really liked?
um either Mason Wynn or Brandon Donovan.
Yes, those are two excellent players, and they're super personal too, which is really good. Personable and personal. Like they can make you feel like you're just a friend chatting baseball with
Yeah,
them. So they're good guys.
yeah. Um, what is your favorite part of your job?
I guess watching baseball, I mean, it's hard to beat that, right? To, first of all, be able to show up every day, whether it's at a stadium or in a studio or in a clubhouse, and say that this is my office for work is pretty lucky. I'm very fortunate. And also to get paid to do it, I mean, that's just the icing on top. But I think also the connections that I make in the game, they're fabulous reporters. I mean, you see me on the field, Izzy, with Emily Stevens and Katie Wu and Tamar Scher and Allie Overstreet and this group of girls that we've bonded with in the sport and how special that is. So that's one of my favorite parts, being able to have this girl group to lean on and, just getting to watch baseball every day, to be able to talk about the sport that I really have a strong passion for. Is a lot of fun. It feels like it's in my blood at this point. I've been covering baseball for so long and I know all these different players. So when I go to the visiting clubhouse, when a team comes into town here in St. Louis and I get to go see guys like Andrew Kittredge or, Clayton Kershaw or Kike Hernandez or all these guys who come through who I've covered for so long and I go into their clubhouse and they're like, "Hey, Alexa, what's up?" Because here's a secret. I'm old and I've been doing this for a
No,
very long
you're not. You're
time.
not. You're beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Struggle.
They remember me, which is really nice and really thoughtful. And so for me, it reminds me why I love doing this game because personal connections through baseball, whether it's the players or, the media members that we hang out with, or whether, it's, fans like you, Izzy, like this is what the game is for. It's my favorite.
Yeah. What has your connection to baseball helped with your goals in the baseball world?
Yeah, my main thing on TV was that I wanted to push myself outside my comfort zone. So when I graduated from college, I graduated with a broadcast journalism degree and a minor in Spanish. And I always wanted to get good enough at Spanish to be able to do an interview in Spanish on TV. So when I was at MLB Network, Pedro Martinez, who is a Hall of Famer, he played with the Boston Red Sox, is a on-air host there. And we had a couple of Spanish players come through, and they mainly felt comfortable doing the interview in Spanish. So Pedro, who speaks Spanish, said, "I'm going to do the interview." And I said, "Hey, can I jump in with you? Because I minored in Spanish and it's something that I want to work on and get better at." And he said, "Oh, ¿tú hablas español?" And I said, yeah, I speak Spanish. And he was like, all right, let's go. So for me to step outside of my comfort zone and do that interview in Spanish on national TV was pretty cool. So little things like that where I get to kind of, explore different avenues of the baseball world through things that I've learned and through ways that other people are willing to teach me have been pretty special to me.
Yeah. And my mom is a Spanish teacher, or was a Spanish
Spanish
teacher.
teacher?
Yeah,
That's amazing. So are you learning any Spanish?
I did, but then I kind of stopped. Because I haven't taken a Spanish class since eighth grade.
Yeah, it's a really hard language that if you don't practice it every day to keep up with, I totally understand that.
Yeah. Um, do you have any advice for girls that want go into the broadcasting industry?
Yeah, the main thing I always tell everyone is the exact same thing that I told you, which is have a podcast. Don't be afraid to ask guests on. People will give you their time. People want to give back. People care and people love this sport. They love this industry too. That's one of the reasons that people have stayed in this industry so long is from the connections that they've made. So keep those connections going. And then when you meet people, have them on your podcast, have them tell their story, learn something from their story that you can implement into yours, and you're doing that really well here with this podcast. I know you've had Emily Stevens on too. Like you're doing exactly what I recommend to people all the time to do to grow their careers because people don't always see what goes on behind the scenes of a podcast, right? Like you had to establish a relationship with Emily and I. You had to then reach out to us multiple times in order to connect with a time and a place that worked, right? You
Yeah,
had to make sure that you got the Zoom link right. You have to make sure you have your background set up. You have to make sure your questions are good to go. All of those things are skills that you're honing while making this podcast. So anytime anyone asks me, I always say making a podcast because it's got so many different layers to it that help hone your skills is where to start. And then studying the game, right? Any way that you can watch as much baseball as possible or whatever your sport is and learn from the announcers. And if the announcer says something that you're not really sure what they're talking about, go look it up and research so you get to, kind of grow while you're watching the game. That's always super helpful. And then reading the stories in the newspaper. People, will often say that the best stories that you get can be written by anyone that observed the game and then gave that information and insight afterwards. So things like that are always, I think, really important for me and for me to pass on to people who want to get in this business.
yeah. So, so where can like people get the information? Like, can it be like from the Cardinals or the MLB that dispatch or what?
Yep.
St. Louis Post Dispatch. Oh, okay. Never. Mom told me. That was so.
Yeah. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch is a perfect way. So to get online to either look at their articles or to get the actual paper. The Athletic, which is where Katie Wu writes her articles. On MLB.com, we have a great writer here in town who does articles for the Cardinals for MLB.com. Those three are just a really great place to start to find articles about the team and to help learn a little bit more about these guys, not only on the field, but off the field too.
Okay. Um, what is it like being part of Vandal Sports?
It's awesome. It's so fun. I get to live out my dream every single day. I get to show up. I get to be on TV. I get to talk about the Cardinals. And I get to have the opportunity to kind of be the person who tells these player stories to the fans, which I think is really special for me to, be able to do that and for them to give me this opportunity. I have an awesome crew that I work with, in terms of we talk about the behind the scenes stuff, really just to make your podcast even happen, right? Like you have the help of your mom who is there for you and supporting you. I have the help of people behind the scenes too, who help with audio, who help make sure the camera looks good. The camera shot behind me is all, clear and bright and beautiful, who help with notes in terms of all of the information that we were just talking about, printing out either game notes that come from the PR staff or printing out scripts or printing out box scores, things like that. I mean, it's a lot of information that you need to kind of sift through in order to narrow down what goes on in the actual broadcast. But people getting that information to you is incredibly important too. And then you have producers who will be the idea people and then also, construct the actual lineup of what it's going to look like for a show every day. And that's an incredibly thankless and important job, right? So they're the ones saying, here's what we're going to talk about first. Here's what we're going to talk about second. Here's what we're going to talk about third. And then when I bring my ideas to the table, they'll say, yep, these ideas are good, or maybe we leave these ideas behind. And to be having that collaborative process to me is really fun. And to me, it's the best part about FanDuel Sports Network. The people there support me endlessly, and it's extremely collaborative. I love it.
Yeah, it whenever I watch you on TV, I'm like, how is she able to memorize every single thing?
Yeah, so there's some memorization for sure. There's some stuff I have written down, and there's a lot of notes that I have in front of me
Yeah,
that a lot of people help me come up with. And, you know, you met Chip and Brad, right, when you came
yeah,
up to the booth, and they've been in baseball a lot longer than I have. Brad played, Chip's been an announcer for decades. So they've seen even more of the game than I have. So the collaborative effort that I'm talking about, so let's say I have an interview with Mason Wynn or Brendan Donovan. I'll go to them and I'll say, hey, here are the 6 questions, guys, that I want to ask these players. Anything else that you can think of? And because Brad's coming at it from a player perspective, he will always throw in an additional question that I didn't even think about. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. The fans would love to know that. And Chip will always throw in an additional question that's like, oh, um, that makes a lot of sense in terms of the history of the game, looking at it from a bigger, broader perspective, or maybe something a little bit more intricate into Brendan Donovan's season that the fans might want to hear from. So it's awesome to be able to go to Chip and Brad and say, hey guys, here's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? And have it be a collaborative effort. I mean, you met them, they're like the nicest guys ever. So why not utilize that as a resource, right?
yeah, yeah. And we were, I was when I went to the broadcasting booth, I wanted to ask, like, do you have any advice? Because they're part of the broadcasting. So like
Yeah.
I was gonna ask them, do you have any advice for me for this?
Yeah.
Um, because I know that when you were on Alexa or Katie's podcast, um you were talking about how Chip gave you advice.
Yep, absolutely. And Chip is the best at giving advice. So when I talked to Chip about what to do for play-by-play, and I was talking to Katie about that, right? Chip was really, first of all, he was thoughtful in his answers, and he gave a lot of advice that he had gotten previously in his career, like from Joe Buck, right? And for Joe Buck to pass down his knowledge to Chip Carey, to pass down his knowledge to me. I mean, I should not be third in line there, Izzy. There should be somebody else there. that, but because we're talking about baseball legends in my eyes, and these guys are so humble and so incredibly talented and really extraordinary human beings, not only broadcasters, that I'm just so thankful to be even in the conversation of not only knowing these guys, but being able to call them colleagues and friends. So, by the way, since I do have the hookup with a couple of these guys, I will pass along the fact that you would probably like to have them on the podcast. Maybe
Yeah,
tease a future guest.
yeah,
Maybe Chip Terry or Brad Thompson come on.
yeah, I'm thinking about having them like a guy episode um
Yeah,
and like saying like because with diff like with the girl like their vision of it will be I feel like it's different than the girl
absolutely.
that
And
fits
it's great to get everyone's perspective on it, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would be more than happy to help facilitate that for you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
um
That's my birthday present to you, Izzy.
okay, thank you. um who is your player to talk about during the pregame?
My favorite player to talk about during the pregame. Wow, that's a really good question. This season, I've had a lot of fun talking about Alec Burleson and Ivan Herrera because one of the big question marks going into this season was it's a transition year. We're going to give several different players runway that we're not really sure exactly, the type of player that they're going to develop into, but we're going to give them the opportunity and see what they do with it. And 2 of those players really took that runway and ran with it. And Alec Burleson is one of them, and so is Ivan Herrera. Ivan Herrera with his power and his ability to use the entire field. Alec Burleson shrinking the strike zone, being a little bit more selective with his pitches, both of these guys have been, I think, the two of the best parts about the offense for this team moving forward. So they're a lot of fun to talk about. The bullpen to me was the biggest surprise and ultimately the MVP of the season because you traded away three veteran relievers at the deadline, and then you still had one of the best bullpens, or at least top 10 bullpens in the second half. Guys like Matt Swanson, Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien. It was really good to see a lot of these guys kind of step up in this, vacant role and shine, and really give, and Kyle Leahy's another one of those as an example, and give this team a lot to look forward to for their positions for next year. Michael McGreevy is always fun to talk about. He's got a big personality. Matthew Liberatore as well. I had a blast covering Miles Michaelis. I've been here for almost his entire tenure. I know he's a free agent going into the offseason, so we'll see what happens with him. But he has always been so incredibly thoughtful. Same with Sonny Gray. They're just good guys, veteran pitchers. They know the game. They know how to talk to the media. They're very, honest and kind with their time. So it's been really great to see. And then honestly, when Al Raboski and I were on postgame the other day, and Al was talking about how the bullpen was his MVP, I said, "There's no way to argue that the bullpen's not the MVP, but I've got a co-MVP, and it's this pitching staff and this coaching staff." So the pitchers in general have done a really great job. But when you look at the coaches, Ollie Marmol and Daniel Descalso and John Jay and Dusty Blake, they have come together as a unit. Stubby Clapp, Pop Warner, I mean, you can go down the list, and really had a lot of these younger guys make really big strides this season because they've been willing to put in the work ethic. And Brant Brown, their hitting coach, has gotten a lot out of these younger guys too. So I mean, I just gave you a million names, but I could talk about, the Cardinals forever, Izzy. I'm a huge, I'm a huge proponent of this organization because I do see so much, positivity here, and I do see them growing in a really positive direction. So it's a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah. When so I think so when when Mason Wynn got hurt, you were we were I was like so confused of like what was happening because I didn't think he would need surgery at all because I like since this is the second time that he got hurt, like he's tough, like he but yeah. And um and I'm surprised, and I'm hoping that Sonny Gray doesn't get traded even though that he's a veteran because
Hmm.
like yes, the Cardinals didn't win, like they didn't win as many games as like you would, but like he's one of the people that made the team win like most games I have ever seen.
He goes out and takes the ball, and he has that swing and miss stuff that the Cardinals love. And he's got that ace mentality. I mean, he's a guy that's, top of your rotation for a reason. And, listening to him post game, he's incredibly thoughtful about his outings and what he feels like went really well and things that he'd like to improve on next time out. So, yeah, he's wonderful. And a lot of these guys are, to be honest, they're extremely they're I mean, that's kind of the best way to describe it. They're thoughtful, right? They're pensive. They spend time actually considering what they're saying to you rather than just giving you, kind of like a generic sentence or, baseball speak. And I really value that and appreciate that because they're thinking through their answers of stuff that they really wanted to get across. So yeah, it's really great. Who have you, like, out of all of the guys? So you mentioned Mason Wynn and Brendan Donovan, but aside from those guys, who else have you really liked watching?
And yeah, I think either Arenado
Yeah.
or Alec Burleson
Yeah.
because and um they they Nathan Church
Yeah.
um and we watched him when he was in Springfield, and we've been watching him grow, like basically grow into this man, like this guy that can like that really good. And I think that he will make it to like in St. Louis again in case he goes back to Memphis.
Yeah, and that's kind of the cool part about this organization too, right? They pride themselves on their homegrown talent and drafting and player development. And that shows because a lot of these guys who are up here at the major league level are players that you were able to follow through the system. So that not only allows the fans to fall in love with them and kind of follow them on their journey, it allows these players to get to know the organization really well and kind of stay ingrained here in St. Louis. So that's pretty special. And that's, I think, pretty unique to really talented organizations. That's kind of their trademark. I mean, when you take a look at the Milwaukee Brewers, that's exactly what they've done to be successful this year. So the Cardinals are looking to continue on that path. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Um, so do you have any like anything that you want to like say like that would make the like so I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I so when ever you like talk like whenever you do the pregame, do you like wish that you said something different? Like like when you like if you're talking about like the strikeouts like or something like do you wish that you say like you said something different in it in there?
Like, do I regret things that I say on TV?
Not like regret, but like wish that you said something different, or I guess regret.
I think that I try as hard as I can not to regret anything that I say, but sometimes I will slip up on a word or mean one word and say another because my brain is just moving too quickly, much quicker than my mouth. Yeah, sometimes I'll fumble over some words because I'm trying to get my words out as clearly as possible, and that doesn't always happen. So that's always really fun because once you say it, you can't take it back, right?
Yeah, because
It's out there, it's live, we're on
yeah,
TV.
it's your life, so there's
Yeah.
no way that you,
Yeah. So every once in a while that happens, of course. I'm definitely not perfect. There's absolutely no way. My favorite thing to do is just to keep moving because if I think about it or worry about it, it's going to affect the next thing that I do. It's kind of like a baseball player, right? Like if they make an error in the field and they think about that for the rest of their game, it's going to affect their at-bats, it's going to affect their mentality. You just got to flush it and keep going. So that's kind of how I've always looked at it. And then sometimes after the show, I'll be like, man, I can't believe I stumbled on that one part. But, hey, I'm not perfect. And we just, look forward to the next day where we can get it right.
yeah. I'm repressed. Oh, um, let's see. Um, um, if so, who's your favorite like who's your favorite person to work with in the
Oh, goodness.
like in the pregame?
The Cardinals Hall of Famer, Al Robosky. Duh. He's the best. He's like my uncle, grandpa, colleague, best friend. He is a sweetheart. He calls me out, which is really fun too. I'll be like, Al, I don't think that that was the right thing, the right call there. He'd be like, what do you know? What are you talking about? Which is really fun. And he does it in a lighthearted way. And it's really sweet. And I appreciate it too, because I learned so much from those interactions because I can be a little stubborn sometimes. And sometimes I think my opinion is the best. Well, it not always is, newsflash. So it's always fun to have Al saying to me, like, how could you think that? Explain yourself to me. And he always gives me the opportunity to. And, sometimes I do, and he goes, okay, I could see that. Or sometimes he goes, no, let me tell you, like, what's actually going on. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So he is just so incredibly awesome to work with because I learned so much and because we can have this really respectful dialogue back and forth. And it can kind of get a little heated sometimes in a fun way, where I'm like, Al, that's a ridiculous idea. Why would you say that? And he's like, well, what you're saying is ridiculous, you know? So, yeah, but it's all in good fun and it's all a part of, for me, the process of learning how to view baseball in different ways. Like I'm only viewing it through the eyes of a broadcaster slash, kind of a fan. He's viewing it through the eyes of a Cardinal Hall of Famer. Those are going to be two totally different sets of glasses that you put on to view this game, right? So I love learning his perspective. And plus, he played in a different era. And that era, there are parts of the game that obviously have changed, but there's a lot of the game that has stayed the same. So for a lot of us who want to say, like, oh, it's so different nowadays than it was back in the day, yes, sure, science, numbers, analytics, totally different. But at the core of it, we're still playing baseball, right? And I think that's always a message that Al wants me to remember because I'm always like, they throw faster, they throw harder, the analytics, the science. And he's like, whoa, girl, I hear you. Those numbers are important, but you have to remember day in and day out, they are going out there to play a game of baseball. And that mentality, that toughness, those are things that you can't teach. Those are things that guys either bring to the game or they don't. So, Al is one of my favorite. Brad Thompson is always fun to work with. I mean, Chip Carey, anytime I know he's the play-by-play on the broadcast and I'm the pre and post game host. But when I do the sideline reporting, when I fill in for Jim Hayes, that's always so fun for me because I get to interact with Chip Carey, who is an absolute delight, a sweetheart of a human and excellent at what he does. And again, both of those guys, Chip and Brad, are willing to help me in a collaborative effort, which is great. I work with Mark Sweeney, who has been kind of a newer addition to St. Louis, but he's a, former player who meant so much to several different organizations. And you can really feel that energy when you go visit a stadium where Mark Sweeney has played in, because there'll be people at that stadium that are like, you know Sween Dog, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know Sween Dog. I work with Sween Dog now. And they're like, he's the best. I'm like, yeah, he's so great. So he's left this really positive, lasting impression on several people that he's gotten to know over the years, and on me too. He's just fantastic. He's a hard worker and he's a great human. So Tom Pagnazzi, I've had the pleasure of working with this year too. Tom, they call him Santa Claus because he's completely and utterly selfless. He's so generous. Like whatever you need, Tom's got you. He never had a rookie pay for a meal when he grew up playing in the game, and that generosity has just been passed down, through his years of working. So I get the pleasure of working with a lot of great guys, and so far they've always been, and I'm sure will continue to be wonderful to me.
Yeah. Thank you, Alexa, for taking time out of your busy schedule. Um,
Izzy, let me end on one thing. So, if you could have one dream guest on your podcast, one, you know, shoot for the stars and you'll land on a cloud. Anyone that you could have, who was be the most desirable guest on Izzy's podcast?
Renee,
Besides, me, of course, duh. Just kidding.
Renee,
Who?
Renee, Rupert.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, she's my favorite Team Forever member on
Okay.
Planet.
Are you going to try and have her on the podcast?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay,
But
great.
yeah, she's the best.
Did you already set it up?
Nope.
Okay. Well, if you need any help, you let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. And your questions were awesome. You did such a good job. So keep it up.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, girl.
Bye.